Ashley, sorry about that. Hi guys. Thank you, Ashley. Looks like we have a pretty good crew. Thanks for joining us today. Today's webcast is going to be focused on Autodesk Plant 3D and Vault. And that, of course, that includes PNID. So the agenda for today will be to look at some of the new features in 2016 that Vault offers for Plant and PNID users. We'll also take a look at setting up the Vault environment for Plant projects. And I'll run through the process also on how to go about creating a Plant project template in Vault so that you can use that to create future projects as you move along. I also want to touch on the Plant connection. It's an application that we have created to offer users of Plant and PNID that have the need for Autodesk Vault. So I want to run through that with you today as well. And we'll jump into a demo after the quick PowerPoint. And then I've got a short do's and don'ts. And throughout the process, I'll glance over at the questions, but since it's just me today, I'll probably save most of them for the end, and I will stay on, read the questions, and show or answer verbally or visually if I can. So with that, let's take a look. Some of the new features of Vault in 2016, they provide a partial workspace, and what that means is when you open a project from Vault in Plant or PNID, you don't have to necessarily copy down all the drawings, okay, all the project drawings. Even though they'll show up in your project manager, they're not necessarily copied, so they're being read from the Vault. You can check them out. You can get them without checking them out, or you can check them out as you need to, and the dialog box and the icons give you a great indication of the status of a file. Maybe someone else has those drawings open for editing, so they might be in your local workspace environment, but not accessible to edit, things of that nature. The improved Get Checkout dialog box is hands down a lot better than it has been in the past. It allows you to pick and choose all the project drawings that you want to get or check out at the time. You can also get them in read-only by double-clicking on the file name itself in that dialog box. The Vault Options dialog box, that's pretty nice. It allows you, and this is particularly important for multi-user environments, it allows you to set the time intervals to check for updated files, and that's in relation to XREFs or referenced files. And every 10 or 15 minutes, if a file that you're referencing has been updated, you'll get a blue notification that pops up letting you know that you need to refresh from Vault. And again, that's the intervals for checking is completely customizable. Root level project management, you can do that on a per file or a per folder or the entire project for that matter. So it's no longer just a root level functionality at this point. Vault folder support for projects kind of falls in that same category. You can create the folders and focus on a particular PNID folder or a particular model type folder area. And it really depends on how you set up and administer your projects and your workload. External reference support, this is nice if you do have the need to reference in other model files. If we're talking about Plant 3D, for example, you have the ability to XREF files from the Vault or from your local workspace. But that's really nice because if you don't want to download or get all those files but you don't really want to stop midstream and check out the files, you can just attach those references directly from the vault. And we also, in this release in 2015, also extension, we can now support the vault and plant replication. So if you want to know more about that, let me know. I'm not going to go into the replication today, but if you want more information or have questions on that, you can shoot me an email and I'll get you all the information you need there. Setting up the vault environment for plant projects. This is a big one. It's nice, and I'm going to walk you through all the steps on this. Talking about the file tab, the behaviors tab, categories, life cycles, and revisions. So this is really on the vault administration side, but I do want to kind of go through and show you some of the settings, some of the pitfalls, and some of the concerns that you might want to definitely keep in mind when you're in the vault client setting this up. It's really important to kind of set up the vault environment prior to creating a bunch of vault plant projects, because they can impact the stability of your plant and P&ID projects moving forward. So I thought I'd run through some of the settings with you today. I also want to create a plant project template throughout the presentation, kind of walk you through that. It gives you the ability to create some folders inside of the vault. Maybe they're client driven, maybe you do industry segmented type work for other various clients, so you can set up project templates in the vault for a particular client or for a particular segmented industry. So when you create a new project, you can choose the project templates that reside in Vault. And what's also nice about that is you have the ability to control what is accessible to your users. You don't want a lot of folks in there sometimes modifying specs or content that they don't really need to be. So you have the ability to set Vault administration roles and permissions when you create these folders and Vault project templates. So definitely want to run through that with you as well. Recently, Hagerman has put out Hagerman connection tools for Autodesk Vault, and on the screen here you can see we have some various connection tools that go along with Vault, and it's not just plant. So there's plotting, there's form-based applications that we've developed. Excuse me, that we've developed. And the one I want to go over with you today is the plant connection tool, the application that we've developed. And the next slide talks about that a little bit. But if you want to know more about some of the other Hagerman connection tools, there is a recording on our website, and this is the link on the screen. But if you go to hagerman.com, you can pull that up, and Matt Lang does a great job presenting the various connection tools that are available for use with Vault. Might want to check that out. As for the plant connection, the plant connection tool is something that we've created. We have a lot of customers that have the need for plant and P&ID projects, the functionality it has, but also has the need for tracking, searching, and maintaining a lot of metadata along with those project files. Vault Pro, Vault Work Group, they all give a lot of additional functionality that Plant has been lacking in the past due to its database structure. And for those of you that know or have looked into it, Plant and P&ID use 3 databases. when Vault is involved. You have the plant P&ID master database, you have the Vault database, and then you have the local workspace database, and that's an SQLite based. The other two are SQL based, but they are 3 separate databases. So when plant and P&ID is involved, you check your drawings into the Vault, but when you do that, you're creating and checking those same drawing files along with the database and the data associated with the project files into a separate database. So it's very easy to break the link between the master database and the local workspace. So we'll talk about that at the end of the presentation. I've got a short list of do's and don'ts, but I have a ton in my head, so I want to run through that. But this plant connection, we developed this for those customers with needs for tracking the metadata the same as they do all non-plant related drawings or inventor files for that matter. So I want to kind of run through that with you. It's a dialog driven application, completely customizable to each customer's needs, has text fields, drop-down lists, it's configurable on the fly, creates drawing properties, those properties mapped to the Vault properties. You can add layouts very easily with the tool. If you copy a lot of drawings to your project and it may have an outdated title block, doesn't have all the properties you need, you can copy a ton of drawings to a project and run a quick function, and it will add the necessary layout that will be mapped between your plant or P&ID project and the Vault. So like I said, we'll run through that and give you a quick demonstration. So with that, I will go ahead and switch over. Where I'd like to start is here in Plant 3D. I have a very small project here. Excuse me. I have a very small project, and over here on the left in the project manager you'll see these icons. The icons that you're looking at indicate that the files have been created but they're not yet checked into Vault. So this project has been created in Vault, and when you see a circle and a plus like that, it means the drawings have not yet been checked in. You'll also notice on the ribbon across the top, this release gives us a lot more tools. Here you can see the Vault options, for example. This is where you can set the synchronization settings and whether or not you get the balloon notification. So if you want to synchronize your workspace every 5 minutes, 1 minute, that's a bit much, especially across networks and in big projects. You may want to check every 10 or 30 minutes. So this is completely customizable at a per user station. And what that does is it goes out and looks for all the other files that may impact your design work. You can download and reload external references, synchronize your workspace if you've got all the files down locally, or you can choose not to synchronize and do it manually. Okay, this checkbox right here is what will drive the notification balloon in the lower right corner when a file in your project has been updated. Okay, synchronize to Vault, that hasn't really changed. Refresh from Vault, that grabs all the project files from the Vault and brings it down. So if you've done some work this morning, you close it down, you come back from lunch. When you open the project again, you may want to go ahead and refresh from Vault. It'll refresh all the files that you have in your local workspace with the exception of any of the files that you have checked out. So it's also a good practice to synchronize to the Vault so that other members of your design team get your changes throughout the day. So it's a good idea to at least synchronize your changes every 30 minutes or so. You also have the ability to launch your Vault client here if need be. When you click on it, you'll get this message. You can launch Autodesk Vault or do not launch. They gave us this message because they really want you to, they urge everyone to stay in the project environment when you're working with plant vaulted projects. They do so, they recommend this, and I recommend it as well, because it, like I said, it is very easy to break the links. So you really want to be very careful when going into the Vault client and looking or working with your plant projects. And we'll go over that a little bit more in detail on the do's and don'ts. The attach related, that is how you attach XREFs from the Vault. Okay, check in. You can also come over here and right click. So this is the partial workspace and folder support. If you right click on a folder, you can see the Vault flyout. You can check in. If I choose check in, it will check in the drawings only in that folder. If I right click on the project and choose Vault, you'll see that I can check in, get check out, synchronize, or refresh, and that would check all of the files in. So if I wanted to check all of these in, so changes, sure, I can right click, go to Vault, check in. So that'll start the check-in process, and it brings up the check-in dialog box. If I only want to check in a couple of these, I would remove the check from the files I do not want to check in. It shows default path. Okay. So if I did not want to check these two files, I would uncheck those boxes. I can keep the files checked out, but check them in for other people to use and reference. And at the time of check-in, I can also place a check here, delete working copies. What that would do is it would clear out my local workspace, so the next time that I open the project, I have the ability to get or check out only the files that I want. So it's pretty nice. So if I have all this checked and click OK, you'll see the check-in process has started, and the icons next to the drawings in the project manager will change as I check these drawings into the Vault. While that's checking in, I can pull up the Vault professional client here. And here is the folder that this project resides in. Okay. So when you go into the Vault client, you have, like I said, you have the ability to create as many folders as you need to. Here you can see this is the HCO Atlanta City Center, same project as you're viewing in the background here. And each folder that you create, again, gives you the ability, if you're an administrative role, you can right-click and go to the details on any folder. When you open up the details and go to the security tab, you have the ability to add roles or groups, users that you have set up for your Vault environment. So if you want to add maybe design users or CAD users, you can add them and give them read and modify, but not the ability to delete. So you have a lot of control over who can see, who can modify, and change things on a per folder basis. That's same thing goes for your project templates. Okay, so it looks like it's finished checking in all the drawings in the background, and you'll notice the icons next to the drawings have changed. And that represents that the file is available for checkout. Can I open it? So if I double click on this file, I can't open it because I did not delete my local workspace copy. So I can open that, but it's not checked out. Okay, I can open it, make some changes, but I won't be able to save it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close that. If I want to check it out, I can right click, or I can come up here to the checkout. But if I right click on the drawing, go to Vault, I can choose Get Checkout. Since I did it on a single file, that is the only drawing that shows up in the dialog box. If I want to check it out, I'll place a check in that box there. And it defaults to the latest. Because revisions by default are on in the Vault for plant projects, you have the ability to go back various releases. So if you wanted to go back a release, you can actually go back to 0, 1, or A, B, really depending on how you have your revision scheme set up. But typically it's best to go with the latest. That will get you the most current version in the Vault. So when I click OK, you'll see it checks it out, and now you'll see a check next to the drawing icon. Now that file is mine for open, checked out for editing. No one else has the file available to them for editing at this point in time. If they open up the project, they would see a strike through for that particular file in their project manager, indicating that another user has that file checked out for editing. So it really is very nice. And if you look down here in the details, you'll see Vault status, path. So you'll see some Vault information as well at the bottom of the project manager. Okay, so if I wanted to check this in, again, I can right click, or I can come up here, click on check in, click OK, and we'll check that file back in. Okay. I'm just going to glance over here at the questions real quick to see if anything's come in. Nothing yet. Okay. All right, the next thing that I want to take a look at is the Vault settings. All right, so to set up your Vault environment, the first thing you might want to do is take a look at your categories. And I want to show you the categories to explain how Vault works with plant and P&ID. So if I come up here to the tools, go to the Vault settings, you'll see that I have, and you know what, before I show you the categories, let me show you this. On the Files tab, it's important that you do not enforce unique file names. You do not want to have that checked. And you also have, when it comes to the working folder, you can let people create their own working folder, or if you're in a multi-user environment, sometimes it's a better idea to go ahead and define a specific place on their local drive for that local workspace. So when you check out a project or open a project, it will copy all the project information down to a specific location. So if you're supporting multiple users, it's always nice to be able to go and look in the same place in a large team. So to define that, you would click on the Define button. You have the ability to allow clients to define their own, or you can enforce consistent workspaces by choosing this option and then defining a path. You can put it in their documents and settings, or if you have large space set aside, you can actually define that path. So when they open a project from the vault in a folder, it will copy that folder name down and then the project in that specific location. So showing you that, I might as well pull up my C drive, and mine's going straight to my C drive. So when I open up a project like this one, it copies the folder that it's in, 2016 P3D, creates a folder on my C drive, and then it copies the local workspace here in that location. You can set that up for your entire team. Now, let's take a look at life cycles and revisions. I'll go ahead and preface this portion. When it comes to life cycles, I want to caution you before you set this up. A lot of companies do use life cycles. I mean, it's a great feature of Vault Pro. You want to tread very lightly in working with life cycles and plant and or P&ID. And we can I'll touch on that a little bit more, a little further at the end, but I'll go ahead and show you how to set this up. If you come over here to the life cycles, you have the ability to choose one of these life cycles, and you can create, you can edit one of these, or you can create a new one. You can do the same thing for your revisions. Okay, now here's alphabetic, numeric. All right, so you can set up these life cycles to fit your workflow or your company standards. But let's first take a look at the categories. When you come in here to the categories, you have folder categories. Okay, up here in the drop-down, you have folder and file categories. So in the folder categories, you'll see that the plant project, that is a plant property that works with Vault. Okay, so that's how Vault ties plant projects into the Vault. So that's a very important property. Now when we come over here to the file categories, you'll see that we have a plant project file category, and each of those have lifecycle and revision settings. Okay, and you can, when you select any one of these file categories, you'll see that the information below changes. Okay, so if you wanted to set up a life cycle, you could come in here to the life cycles. You can click new, and you can call this HCO standard life cycle. Okay, you can choose what category it's associated with. So if you wanted to tie a life cycle in, I'm not saying that you should without much caution, but if you wanted to, you would click on the category and place a check in plant project. Okay, then you can build the life cycle based on your needs. It's always easier to start with something than create from scratch. So if you find one that you like in here, then you can come up here and copy that. When you copy it, you can use that as a basis and go from there. HCO standard. Okay. Excuse me. Again, in the category, you would want to drop that down and choose plant project, hit close. You have the ability to come down here and change the states, work in progress, for review, released, and over here you can modify these settings as well. And this is what will get you in trouble when you're working with life cycles if you're not real careful. The security and the control settings. So I'll stop there for now, but you want to pay very close attention because a lot of folks that try to implement life cycles on plant and or P&ID projects run into roadblocks, and unfortunately they do corrupt a lot of project databases, so be very, very careful on this. For now, I'll go ahead and click OK. When I click OK, I've created a new one, and I'll hit close. Before I go back, I can click on revision, and when I click on revision, I can do the same thing. I can create my own scheme or pick one that I like. I can copy it, rename it, go in and modify the settings as needed. Okay. Once you have your revision schemes and your life cycles set up, then you have the ability to go back to the categories. Again, you'll want to make sure that you're set to file categories. Choose the plant project file. And for the life cycles, you can click Edit. When you click Edit, you have the ability, sorry, not Edit, you want to click Assign. When you click Assign, all of the life cycles that were assigned or associated with the plant project file show up in this dialog box. And if you want to change the life cycle scheme, all you do is you select it and you click on Default. When you click on Default, the check will go here, and that will activate the life cycle for your plant project files. Again, I don't really encourage you to do that without a lot of testing or consulting with us or doing a ton of research. So that's how you do that. And then you can come over here to the revisions while the plant project file is still selected. You have the ability to click Assign and set the revision scheme. Again, one out of the box that you've associated with or one that you've created. Hit Default, and it will make that the revision scheme for all your plant and P&ID projects. Okay. Just glancing over here at the questions. I don't see any questions yet. Great. So I'm going to come back to the properties here in just a little bit. Once I get into the plant connection tool. All right, so I just wanted to kind of run through some of the Vault environment settings that you'll want to take into account for your projects, especially for those of you that have non-plant or P&ID projects that you may have been catering to drawings or design files in a certain manner that you definitely need to be aware of when working with the plant projects. Okay, talked about that. All right, so let's take a look at creating a Vault project template. Looking back over here, you can see that I've created a folder called P3D Project Templates. Okay, and this is where you can create those industry segmented project templates or client-driven project templates. And to do this, all you have to do is come up here and right-click and choose New Folder. When you click on New Folder, you can create a plant project, but it's not really necessary to create a plant project folder, so I would go with just a standard folder. And you can call this example template. And one thing to know about this as well, and if you do this wrong, it will bark at you, so you'll come back in here and fix it yourself. But there's no spaces allowed in these project template folders, so you want to make sure that you put underscores in or no spaces whatsoever, because that will affect the path, the selected path when creating a project from a project template. So example template. Okay, so I'll go ahead and create a folder. Once I've created the folder, I can right click and again go to the details because I'll need to change the security. Right now I'm logged into the Vault as an administrator. but my working environment, I'm logged in as David Cruz. So therefore, I would not have the ability to access this folder unless I come in here and give me or my group access. So when I click on add, I have the ability, I'll just do everyone for time's sake. So I've added everyone and I'm giving everyone full read-write controls and permissions. Okay, so now I've created a folder, and that can hold many things. It doesn't have to just hold plant or PNID project templates. It can hold drawing templates, you know, anything that you might need it to. It will be a good starting point. All right, so let me go back to the project environment. And I'll go ahead and close this project. Oh, that's right, protected. Okay, so close project. It's right protected because the drawing is checked in. I still had it open, so it won't let me save it. All right, so to create a vaulted project template, I simply come over here to the project manager and choose new project. And I'll give it a name, example project template. Okay, I can enter a description now or later. Example. Okay, I can create this project in the Vault, and it wants to know the Vault folder that I want this project template in. I can click on the Browse button, and it shows me all the project folders that I have the ability to create this project in. So I'll go ahead and put this in the example template folder. Okay, then I can copy settings from an existing project, just like in the past. But if you already have a project template set up in the Vault, I'm going to knock out two birds with one stone here. You can come over here and from the Vault Explorer, place a check from Vault Server. You'll notice when I place a check, it changes from Select Project XML to Select Project from Vault Server. When I click on the Browse button, all of the existing projects that reside in Vault show up, and I have the ability to choose the one that I want to start with. So I'll choose the HCO project template. I'll click Open, and then I'll hit Next. Once I do that, it starts creating that project and all the database files and writing also the files to the master database. This will take just a second. I don't have any drawings in there, so it'll be rather quick. And once it creates all the necessary files in the master database and in the Vault, I can go ahead and finish the project setup. Okay, so on this screen, it tells me the Vault folder path. Okay, everything looks good, and it asks for the SQL Server name. If you know your name, you can type it in. If you don't know the SQL Server name, you can click on the drop-down. Sometimes it takes a minute. Even here on my local machine, it takes a minute to go out and read all the available paths. But once it drops down, you'll see that I have two options. I have the Vault Server, the Autodesk Vault Server, or the Plant 3D. Okay, so this SQL Server name that it's asking for is where do I want the master database. So I will choose the Plant 3D, and then I can give it a database prefix, and I'll just call this HCO_EX, for example. I can test the connection. Everything looks good. I'll hit Next and Finish. So what I've just done is I've created a new project template in the Vault from another project template in the Vault. So the first setup was the Vault setting, the Vault project setup, the folder setup. This screen that you're seeing here is writing to the actual master database. This is where it stores all your specs, data, DCF, DCFX files, all the actual data that goes along with the project. And while it's creating this, I want to point out that's why it's very, very important, I can't stress it enough, to understand the system architecture of plant and vault and P&ID projects. It's not like your typical CAD or Inventor or AutoCAD electrical for that matter. It is very, very different from most of the design files people have worked with Vault in the past, and it is very easy to break. Okay, so let's just check that out. So if I come in here and I open up the example template folder, you'll see that here is the project template inside of the Vault. So I can use that to start new projects against. Let me check over here and see if there's any questions yet. Nothing yet. All right, so time is flying. I must be having a good time with this. Okay, let me go ahead and go back. I want to show you the plant connection tool that we've developed. We still have a few items that we want to add to the wish list, so we're looking into a couple of things, but I want to show you what we have so far. So let me go ahead and open up this project from the Vault that I have, where the two P&IDs from. As I mentioned, the application itself creates drawing properties, gives you a dialog interface, and those properties are mapped to Vault. And they can also be concatenated, used to fill in your title block. So it's a great little tool, and when you set this up, you want to make sure it's one direction, not bidirectional. You do not want any changes made on the Vault side. Everything needs to be made on the plant or P&ID side. So to bring up that application, whoops, it's just a short command. I haven't made a button yet, but here are some properties, some metadata that you may want to track. So here you can see we have title line 1. Let me go ahead and cancel this. I'm going to zoom in to the title block here. All right. So I'm going to bring this back up. All right. So you can see that some of these properties are being used for the title block, but not all of them. Some of them are. Most of these right here and up are associated with the title block, but all of these and the properties on page 2 are additional metadata that needs to be tracked in the database, in the Vault, so that you can search against those properties if need be. Some are drop downs, some are just text fields. So if I wanted to change this to unit 3, change it from piping to building, you'll notice that when I have the class set to piping, the subclass type, I have the ability to pick a particular subclass list based on the class selection. So if I change that to building, you'll see that the list will refresh and I can choose building services for that matter. Okay, but if I choose ducts, then I can choose general installation details or plans. So it's all based on what you have selected here for the class. Okay, go ahead and change that back to piping. And again, this is all customizable. If you need to customize the list, I'll show you that here in just a minute. The site, again, this is a pick list. This site will drive additional properties in the drawing properties. So if I pick this one, it actually has some coding behind it that will put in a site abbreviation code in another field, a drawing property that is also mapped to the vault. So it's really nice how it functions, and it keeps people honest. So the more pick lists that you have, the better. Over here in the size, for example, this is a 34 by 44. They don't. You might not want all of the description in the value of that property in the drawing or involved. So that is just cut back to parts of it. So you can fill out the information in the application, hit finish, and let me go ahead and pull up the drawing properties. All the drawing properties that have values are created. So if you have a blank title block and no drawing properties, that application will actually create the drawing properties when you hit finish and populate its values. Okay, so you can scroll all the way down and see all the information in this particular drawing. Excuse me. Okay. If you pull that back up, for example, you have the ability also to modify the lists. So if you needed to add a location, okay, you can actually come down here, and this is the administrative side of things. If you want to edit the users, okay, you can actually edit the users and give them administrative rights to the application, because it's just a path that's set up that points to the application. As far as the lists are concerned, you can click on a list. If you wanted to modify the duct list, you can see that here are the selections available in that pick list and the code that it's associated with. And that subclass is over here. That's the code that is linked back to the actual subclass verbiage. If you need to add one, I'll go ahead and do fab plans, and I'll give it a number. Hit OK. Okay, so now when I come back over here to ducts, you should see fab plans in the list. So it's nice, it's easy, it's customizable. We can do it for you, or we can build additional functionality that you can also take advantage of. If you needed to add additional actual properties, you can do so by going in and choosing class or property. As you add these, you can actually add additional fields to the dialog box. So again, that's just additional functionality that is offered in this. If you do copy a drawing to the project, I don't know if I was ready to show this, but I want to, if I copy a drawing, let's see what I can find here. Yeah, great. Okay, I'm going to copy this drawing to the project, and this drawing really doesn't have anything to do with this project. It's an older file. Maybe this came in. With just a converted file that's in model, excuse me, a model space or something like that, or it's just an old file. We've written, part of the application is to add a layout. Okay, so when we click on add layout, it gets rid of the old layout if there is one, and it puts in the title block associated with this project type. And you can see that it blew away the old layout. You may have a little bit of scaling or cleanup to do there, but it does bring in the information, and then it gives you the ability to run the command and fill out the properties. We also have the ability to import that. So if you have a list, we can actually import that into the application, which will then, of course, create the drawing properties and write the values. So if you've exported it or you have a running list in Excel or Access or anything like that, it's doable. You can mass automate that process. Okay. With that said, I know I'm running short on time here. I want to go back over here and just kind of give you an idea. If I drill down into one of these projects and look at one of these drawings, you will see those properties over here on the right side. So all of those properties that, well, not all, I haven't quite mapped them for this webcast, but the majority of those properties you can see associated with those drawing files. So it contains all of the values. Now, whether these are custom properties that you create, that our program creates for you, you do not want to modify the values inside of the Vault client, because that will essentially break the link between the master plant or PNID database and the local workspace database. So if I change that value here, then the master database has no way of getting the information to my local workspace without going through Vault. So that's why it's so imperative that people understand the system architecture on how things are set up. We're also working on a way to create that functionality, but hopefully we'll have another webcast early next year on that. But I did want to show you that these properties are being pulled in when you check the drawings in to Vault. Those values are written, searchable, reportable, and if you, again, when you set up the properties, I do want to show you this. If I come over here to the Vault settings and go into the properties, you'll see you want to make sure that if you have any properties that you need to track, whether you're looking at the plant connection tool or not, when you're looking at the properties inside of the Vault client, the main thing you want to be aware of, whether it's custom properties or not, you do not want your properties being bidirectional. So if you set up properties, custom properties inside of the Vault, make sure that you have it set to from the design file into the Vault, not from the Vault the other way, or not bidirectional, because that can be very, very bad and very, very dangerous, and you'll spend a lot of time cleaning up corrupted projects. So yeah, so if you need to add a property, you can click on New, give it a name, HCO example. And this has been the problem. We all know that PNIDs and plant models, they have drawing properties that you can create inside of the project environment. Okay, I'm just going to hop back over here. For example, if I right-click on this drawing and go to properties, these are the drawing properties. You can go into the project setup and you can create all your title block, check by, design by. You can check all the, you can create all the properties that you want inside of the project setup. They'll show up here. You can fill them out. You can fill in the data. The problem with that is there's no hook, there's no grab, there's no ability to to create the link between the project environment properties or the project environment drawing properties to be able to utilize that functionality. So when I go back over here to Vault, okay, and you click on association, yes, of course we want to associate that with a plant project file, all right, but again, the properties are not there. When we come over here to the mapping and you choose file, okay, other files, you'll see there is no ability to hook into the DCF I'm sorry, the DCFX file, which actually contains those properties and contains those lists. So that has been kind of a thorn in the side of plant and P&ID users thus far. That's why we've come up with the plant connection tool. That way we can use just a normal DWG and pull all the metadata properties into the vault associated with plant and P&ID files without breaking the connection to the master database. So let me go ahead and get short on time here. Do's and don'ts, here's just a few. I kind of ran out of time putting this list together, but do synchronize to Vault often in a multi-environment so that people have your design changes throughout the working day. Test Vault settings for plant thoroughly prior to creating a ton of vaulted projects. Take a lot of caution when setting up the Vault environment. Set up Vault roles accordingly to your workflow and staff. Don't set up life cycles without extensive testing. And do not use Vault Client to modify any plant project or plant drawing data whatsoever, whether it's custom properties. Life cycles can break it as well, so try and well, definitely try not to modify any plant-related information inside of the Vault client. So with that, I am going to go ahead and switch over to the questions and answer session. Hopefully you guys have found this webcast helpful and useful. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions at this time, so that's all I have for today. I will hang on for a few more minutes, and I'll look for probably, I'll give you a couple, 3 or 4 minutes and watch the question dialog box. I'll mute myself, but I'll unmute myself if I see any questions come in so that I can answer them verbally. Will the recording be available? Yes. As soon as the webcast ends, we will go ahead and convert that into a video. And Ashley, are you still on?
Yes, I am. And we will be we'll be posting this to YouTube, so you can find it at our YouTube channel. But we will email that recording out, or GoToMeeting will email that out.
Will that also be on our website as well as YouTube?
Yes, it should be. We post most of our webcasts on our website as well.
Great, thank you, Ashley.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, comments, thoughts? Love to hear from you guys. We've been trying to push the envelope with great question. This portions of it is only for 2016. If you have 2015 extension 1, a majority of it is applicable to you as well. Some of the new features I covered in 2016 aren't exactly the same in 2015, even with extension 1, but yes, you should be good to go with that. I failed to mention that. Will I be presenting at AU this year? I don't have any. Unfortunately, not this year. I have not been invited to speak. So would love to sometime soon, but not this year. Hopefully so, Spence. Maybe AU 2016. I'd love the opportunity. Well, again, thank you all for joining. Ashley, you can go ahead and end the webcast now. Again, I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and look forward to hearing from you soon.
Okay, thank you everyone. Have a nice day.